didn't get done either. Let's see, we got. Okay. All right, Kitty. Question, Matt.
Yeah.
Why we're having a second meeting on May 5th as well for the Urban Renewal Agency?
That is for the Urban Renewal Agency Board, not the Budget Committee.
Okay, good. That's good. Yeah, it confused me a little bit because it appeared to me that we'd be doing the whole thing today.
Yes, we are. As far as the Budget Committee member, your whole thing is this next meeting.
Good.
Hey, Matt, by the way, Matt.
Yeah.
I had to move where I was. I kept on losing the signal, and so it's pretty good now. But in that information from that was from John. In that the first paragraph, the second line of the first paragraph, it says, in accordance with Oregon budget law, the URA prepares its own budget and the board of directors approves its annual appropriations. What does the budget committee have to do with? What does this budget committee have to do with that?
This Budget Committee actually acts as the Urban Renewal Budget Committee as well. So it's a dual role, similar to the City Council is also the Urban Renewal Agency Board.
Okay.
It is technically seen as a separate organization, even though it consists of the same members.
Yes.
I would love to have one less budget meeting.
We all pick up our hats and we change hats and go from the City Budget Committee to the Urban Renewal Agent Budget Committee. So.
Yep. It looks like everyone's back, so I'm going to go ahead and hit record, and then Board Chair, Councilor President Morton, the floor is yours to start the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Matt. This is the Urban Renewal Agency Budget Committee meeting, Tuesday, April 27th, 2021 at 7 p.m. I'm Director Doug Morton, serving as your current chairman, and I'm opening the meeting right now with introductions. So as can we introduce ourselves as we go around the room? Okay,
Steve Topaz, Counselor, position 3.
Jessica Chilton, Counselor, position 4.
Mayor Scholl,
Bill Eagle, Budget Committee member.
Eric Lyons, Budget Committee member.
Patrick Berkeley, council position 2.
I believe the only other council member is Claire, and she may not be available at this time. She was going outside. And that would be Claire Cat as budget committee member.
but we still have a quorum, so we're still good.
Yes.
Sorry, Matt, I'm present. What did you need from me?
Oh, no, you're fine. We were just doing introductions for the Urban Renewal Budget Committee.
okay, thank you, Claire. That includes the our roll call and introductions. Let the records record all are present. And now for the approval of minutes from the 2019 and 2020. You have those, does everyone have those minutes before them?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Motion has
Second.
been made that we approve the minutes. Do I hear a second?
You have a second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Is there a discussion or questions?
Just a point of order that the next item on the agenda was the election of a budget chair.
Okay, I will go, I'll be moving up to that after we approve the minutes. Is that all right? Is that all right with the board?
The only reason I mention is because sometimes we transition at that moment right there to the new director, and other years we've kind of continued through with
Okay.
the previous director, and it's really kind of unclear.
Okay, so let's strike the approval of minutes 2019 and 2020. Thanks for bringing that up, John. Appreciate it. So now let's entertain the election of a new budget chair.
I move that Doug Morton become the budget chair and succeeding himself.
I'll second that.
Doug, you okay with that?
No.
You don't get to say no.
No, I'm flattered that that the motions were made, and yes, I will. Do I hear any other motions? Hearing none, we need to take a vote for the election of the budget chair, Doug Morton, for the year 2021, for the remaining part of 2021 and 22. Do I hear, can we take a vote?
I make a motion that we cast a unanimous ballot for Doug Morton.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Yay.
Okay, there's also a vice chair consideration as well.
Okay, and so now nominations are open for vice chair.
I would like to make a motion that we put Counselor Chilton as vice chair.
I knew you were going to do that.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that Councillor Chilton be the vice chair of the Urban Renewal Agency for the year of 2020 and 2021. I'm sorry, 21 and 2022. Sorry about that. Okay, all those in favor, or is there any other nominations first? Hearing none, let's take a vote on Councillor Chilton. All those in favor signify
Aye.
by saying aye or raise your
Aye.
hand.
Aye.
Okay, it is unanimous that Counselor Chilton become the Vice Chair of the Urban Renewal Agency Budget Committee. Now let's move on to the approval of minutes from the 2019 and 2020. Has everyone had an opportunity to read over those minutes? And are there any corrections, or do I hear a motion for approval?
I was gonna let Bill jump in there because he made the original one.
I'd like to move that we approve the minutes from 2020, 2021. Oh no, 2019, 2020.
It's catching. I'm sorry. Okay,
Thank you.
so do I hear a second?
You have a second.
Okay, it's just been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of 2019 and 2020. All those in favor signify
Aye.
by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Right.
Okay, it's unanimous and it's passed. Let's go for the next item on the agenda is public comment on proposed URA budget. Do we have anyone, Matt, in the public sector that wants to comment?
Other than John and I, we just have 3 staff members, so no members of the public outside of the committee.
Okay.
Do you have a screen to show that? Just curious.
Yes. Let's see.
I just thought it'd be good for the video.
Can you see the participant list there?
It's pretty small. You can blow it up.
Well, it doesn't increase the names.
You can't scroll when you're doing share screen.
Yeah. So those in attendance on the Zoom meeting, myself, Matthew Brown, Council President Morton, Councilor Topaz, Mayor Scholl, Garrett Lyons, John Walsh, Bill Eagle, Claire Catt, Councilor Berkeley, Councilor Chilton, Mohammed Zahir, Margaret Jeffries, and Shauna Duggan.
Yeah. And that's very conservative on those numbers, correct?
Okay, is there any other, no one else on the public comment or has any comments for the proposal of the URA budget?
My
Budget
comment
message.
was, my question was, that's pretty conservative, correct? I mean, we have a lot of growth in.
You're referring to the budget amount of 407,000?
Yes.
That is, I'll let John answer since he's the.
Yeah, let's move on to budget message. And so, John, could you shed light on that, please?
Thank you. Yeah, I'll take off my city administrator and be the agency administrator, and the counselors are now our board members to this agency, and it's kind of a unique the feeling of you're acting as a different governing body at the moment here. So the budget message is something of a broken record the past few years since 2017. Since we kicked off the Urban Renewal Agency, we started with some budget assumptions, and one of those assumptions was an investment in Armstrong World Industries was planning a $40 million machine into their facility there, and within almost before the ink was dry, not only that the investment not happen, but the Armstrong folded up and left town and left a pretty big mark on our utilities and certainly on this Urban Renewal Agency's start. So, and that's been the message for the last several years. And in order to adjust from that, we went through this Urban Renewal budget amendment or just amendment process, the boundary amendment, and took certain properties in and that weren't performing very well and looked at other properties that were doing had more potential, and we're now on a course to really take off. The growth is really starting to looks like it's going to come through and meet its projections. And you'll see 407,000 in the budget here, and that represents a little bit of increment we collected over last year's of about 50 some thousand, and then the anticipated 307. But in the years forthcoming, this is a $62 million agency that's going to ramp up considerably over the next few years. And within 4 to 5 years, we're anticipated to be able to fund up to $8 million in projects. So still very much in its infancy. It's been a slow time getting its legs underneath the agency, but it's still looking real promising. So the agency does have the capacity or the ability to recoup expenses for the creation of the agency, the administration of the agency. We have not burdened that, those, so that it can split between the city and also the agency can pay its way basically and reimburse the administrative costs. But we don't feel like it's healthy enough yet to do that, and we'll have the capacity to do that at some time in the future. But so we are budgeting 100% of these revenues into a contingency item. So there's no specific projects, although we have a very detailed plan of urban renewal eligible projects. Many of them are on the waterfront and around the city. And yeah, we're on a good path now. So yeah, that concludes my report.
Okay, let's open it up for discussion and questions to John for his comments. And Matt, are you still with us? Matt? Oh, okay, there you are.
I'm still here.
I'll let you facilitate this discussion, and then we'll move on after the discussion. We'll move on to the approval. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, President
Matt,
Morton.
I've got a question. On this handout about the agency, the second paragraph, the last sentence, it says any growth and appreciation amount over the frozen base funds, the Urban Renewal Agency and Urban Renewal Plan. Could that be explained to me? It's like there's no verb in it. I don't know what it means.
So basically, when we adopted the urban renewal back 2 years ago, whatever the property tax was set at then, the increase that you noticed on your house there, your own personal property tax, the increase we actually have captured in that whole entire urban renewal district. That's why I'm kind of curious, are we going very conservative on these numbers? Because we have a lot of new construction. We have increase in revenue. The urban renewal is used as a tool and is targeted to move and utilize as we see fit as a urban renewal agency within its limits to target certain projects. And I want to make sure that I understand we have a waterfront, but we also have a whole urban renewal area that I think those numbers are very conservative, with the apartment complex to the veterinarian clinic, which is 100% new tax, 100%. And with the construction of the Leahy property over there, which is half built out. Those are all coming on. I feel that this is very, 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 very conservative, and I'd like to know where the numbers came from.
Yeah,
Sure.
let me re-ask my question to John. My question is, what does that sentence mean? I don't.
I'm not tracking where you're at exactly, but
Okay, it's about the agency. Second paragraph, last sentence. Any growth and appreciation.
So Garrett, in a very simplified example, let's say that you own a piece of property within the Urban Renewal Agency, within that map, and your taxes that you pay to the county that gets dispersed to all the organizations, you pay $100 a year.
I understand that completely. I just want to know what this one sentence means.
The verb is funds.
yeah, the verb
Funds is the verb.
Yeah, so anything in the future years, let's say your $100 was back in 2017, and that was when the Urban Renewal Agency was created, and that frozen base was created with that $100. Okay, so as the years go on, your property taxes increase based on the value of your property and other things. Okay, so let's say this next year, your property taxes are $110. Well, because of that frozen base, the Urban Renewal Agency receives that $10 difference. Okay, the other agencies still receive what they would have at the frozen base, but that $10 increase, which is the growth and appreciation, that is what the Urban Renewal Agency receives.
So somehow it should say they received that, because there's nothing in here in that sentence that says that.
As Patrick mentioned, the verb in that sentence is the word funds. So it's giving money to the Urban Renewal Agency and the Urban Renewal Plan.
Okay. Okay.
So, so my question though was, in
I'd
the
like to-
long form of it was, you have to have an adopted amount of money in order to leverage a certain amount of money, and that's what we're approving right now. And I want to know where those numbers came from.
Okay, the numbers, Mayor, come directly from the financial report projections that Tiberius Solutions prepared for us. It's a building upon the existing funds in the account plus the anticipated funds that are in the financial projections. But the contingency, or I guess the buffer there, is that those are based off a low growth scenario. We budgeted off the low growth rather than a mid or a high growth, and we are tracking more than a low growth scenario right now with the above state average growth in the community.
So down in the future, if we decided we wanted to leverage, will we do a more in-depth analysis on what we have? Or is this approval contingent on the money we can leverage in the future? If say, all of a sudden we had this aha moment in a big project, right smack dab, maybe on the Holton district, I don't know. But the Holton district, so the urban renewal, for those that don't know, I don't know if Councilor Chilton knows. I think Councilor Berkeley does, but it goes from downtown all the way up Columbia Boulevard, St. Helens Street, back down Highway 30 to Old Portland Road. And Old Portland Road comes up, it leaves a little section of Old Portland that's not on it. And that's by the railroad tracks there. But all that is our urban renewal. So any property abutting those, and also within our mill district, any properties abutting those corridors could be targeted as and utilize, we can utilize urban renewal money on those. Correct, John?
Yeah, if it falls within the urban renewal agency boundary, then
That's right. Yeah.
and it has a project that's been listed in the urban renewal plan, it's eligible.
And what was the reason that we couldn't use that on the police station if that's in that area?
Oh, go ahead, John.
Okay.
Sorry.
So as part of approving this process, we're asking all the other taxing agencies in the county to forego their taxes. So we get that increment, but we get the increment of not just the city's tax, but we get the counties and the fire districts and the soil water conservation district. We get all of the tax. So it's a big ask to ask your partners in government here to forego their revenue to an agency to do redevelopment work. And the promise at the time was that the city's commitment was to creating investments that created tax base. And there is an argument potentially that urban renewal could support something like a police station, but that was, we're taking money from the fire district to build the police station basically. And
Yeah, and
I
if
think
you look
further, I think beyond that is that the group got together and identified projects and prioritized projects that we would be doing. So those are already listed. We can make addendums as time goes on to that. So I think Jessica brings up a really good point about something that could be that needs some flexibility, and we can and hopefully as this agency moves forward, that we always maintain that flexibility to look at and add new projects. And if we add new projects, then we have to prioritize them to the other projects. And so everything is above board that way. Everyone knows where monies are going to or planned to go. And hopefully that's one of the reasons we'll have these meetings, is so that we can utilize our flexibility in going forward.
Yeah, and if you sat through the original presentation, it might not be a bad idea to have Lorelei come out and just give a quick presentation on like blight within our community, which would be like targeting certain buildings that are considered blight and saying, hey, we want to help you out as an urban renewal agency because and we allow them to either we give them some money or we give them a no interest loan to do improvements to their building, which does benefit the urban renewal in a way too, because it increases the property value that they're froze at. So, but it's very informative when she came out and spoke to us. So it might not be a bad idea just to have her come out. I know it probably costs us a little bit of money, but Matt?
Yeah, I just want to quickly mention too, one usually golden rule for urban renewal agencies is that the projects that are identified are projects that you're using, as John mentioned, other organizations' property tax money to do. And typically the promise or idea is that you are doing projects that will return additional revenue when the urban renewal agency ends. So that if we're taking $10 away from you every single year, we are investing it in projects around the city that will in turn, when the agency goes away in 30 years, that your property tax level, your property rates as an organization that you receive that $10, that actually has increased exponentially. So we've made a promise to our constituents that we would not use those funds at the time when this plan was approved for projects that did not increase the property tax base. And by building a public safety facility, that does not increase the property tax base of the community.
Yeah, it's a really cool tool. I think we need like a workshop around it so we can actually explain and go through and identify the areas. And for the two new counselors, I think that's something that we'll do in the future.
Yeah, let the minutes reflect Mayor Scholl's concerns regarding that issue. And possibly we can, because of that, we can open up a workshop and or schedule another meeting. The other aspect is that Mayor Scholl raised was the amount of 407 million, and we should, I'm sorry, 407,000, 407,000.
I wish we had 407 million.
Me too. I was thinking. Okay, and I think he was asking why we aren't more aggressive on that figure, or why it hasn't been looked at as a higher figure. Does that at all put us in any kind of disadvantage, John or Matt? Do you have an opinion on that? If it was 600,000 rather than 400, what kind of advantage or disadvantage does that mean?
So I'll take a crack at it, Matt. So I shared that we're following our financial projections. It's a low growth scenario, and a lot of it has to do with timing. And it's the kind of the lag period of when a building permit gets issued, when it gets finalized, when it comes on the tax rolls. And those are all different dates. And if you can miss a window on the property tax, and you'd be off a whole year. And when these things come onto the tax rolls. So this is a very conservative look. If it's better, then great. But we think that's a very low conservative number.
Okay.
So the difference would be between 8 million and 11 million that you could borrow against.
Yeah, one thing to consider, Mayor, too, is let's say that you approved $600,000. And keep in mind, just like you did with the city budget, you're approving expenditure authority. So you're approving the city staff in the city or the urban renewal agency to expense $600,000. And you could, as you said, you could put that towards a loan. to indebt and take out a
Yes.
$4 million loan. What happens if you have budgeted $600,000 and what actually comes in is $400,000? Now you've done nothing illegal because you've approved the expenditure authority of $600,000 because that's what you expected was going to come in. But in actuality, you only had $400,000 come in. And so you've taken out a loan for $4 million based on an expectation of $600,000 in revenue coming in. And that actually didn't happen. And then that would have to be taken into consideration in the audit and the next following year to make up that difference.
Sure. And that's why I would want a more accurate. I don't believe in an outside consultant that hasn't come and looked at the grocery outlet and the St. Helens Apartments and the Legacy and the veterinarian clinic, and then taken into account all the businesses that have done upgrades and just increase in property tax period on all the businesses along those corridors. I think it's very, very conservative. I don't agree with the number. That's just me. And I like to know where we are at because this is a significant tool that can be utilized to get things done. And that's my whole thing is if we have something come up this year, because we have a whole year and a half fiscally, if we have something come up in that year and a half and we need another $2 million, we need another $2 million.
To give you an example, Mayor, in the current budget, you can see we've budgeted $1,100. We've received 370. So we're not even hitting this year's adopted budget.
Another piece of that is the financing that we're working through the state has a buffer in it to when we start to begin to repay that. So we'll go through a year of planning, a year of construction, and then we have up to 3 years to start paying on the debt.
And there might have been a defer too, because until you close on a property, you don't actually get tax because it's under construction.
Correct.
That much I do know too.
Or the
Yeah,
occupancy of it as well.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, the lead and lag kind of hitting the
So-
tax.
I have a question. So we're very conservative this year. What does that mean for next year? Does that mean that we will be sitting in a position that is more lucrative for us in 22, 23? How does it work?
So it will be no different. In my opinion, you just don't have an accurate assessment. Because see, the property taxes don't go till October to October. That's what's weird about this. Here we are in May adopting this, and we're not going to actually know until October.
But my question is that, well, obviously we will catch up in 22, 23. But your opinion is that it could set us behind because if we wanted to take loans or whatever, that we won't be able to do that. Is that correct?
Just in case, you don't have to spend it.
Yeah, okay.
And we don't plan to for at least 3 years.
Okay.
Well, but what if? And when you say we, I'm just saying, what if we get approached by a builder or somebody who says, I have an idea and I want to expand your city, and we have not enough money there to allow that person. That's what it's utilized for. Again, I did research this. I've done a little bit of my homework at League of Oregon Cities and know how they can be used also for SDCs to entice businesses, not just businesses, but businesses coming in, but also businesses that are here. If they want to rebuild in our city limits, allowing them, there's all kinds of ways we can utilize this. And I think this needs to be a workshop for the city council later.
Okay, so Mayor, on this, moving on to where we're going on the agenda, if you look at that, there's an opportunity to change the proposed budget. Are you planning on doing that?
No, what I'm saying is I want to have a workshop. I want to make sure that next year I'll still be mayor next year. I hope. I mean, I should be. I shouldn't get recalled or anything like that. And that we revisit it very hard and have a more in-depth assessment so we can utilize that tool.
I think that's a good approach. Unless there are some concerns that we have for some initial expenditures, which I might have. And my feelings are that in the enterprise zone is the industrial park, and there might possibly be a need to get electricity, an emergency need to get electricity to the operations that are down there that are going against each other's throats. There might be some emergency of getting electricity to that area to facilitate the needs of of both entities that are there, Cascade Tissue and the grow operation both. So that's the only thing that I see that could be an emergency that is not an emergency, but something that could be utilized in that area. And I don't know if that falls underneath the Urban Renewal Agency guidelines for development down there or not. I do believe it does. So that's my only concern. I mean, I agree with the mayor about having some extra funds there, but I most certainly, as your chairman, don't want to put us in any jeopardy at all.
Matt, I have two questions. One, I'm going to amplify Doug's question. Right now, we have some possibilities of having a problem off the waterfront with the DEQ and pollution, and a great deal of the hope for goodness of this property was having a good waterfront that could be used commercially. The uncertainty of that has to be found out. The other is on property tax, going back to the police station. It doesn't generate any taxes, but its goodness, would that increase the tax rate of the rest of the area? And that goes to how taxes are generated around here.
I certainly don't see it increasing the tax rate. You mean property tax?
Just because it becomes a greater city because we have
Property
Yes,
value.
I
Yeah, I
understand that.
Yeah,
And
I
the
think
answer to
Councilor
that question is yes.
Yeah, typically when new development comes in, it raises the property value. Just if if you build a house next to you and it's a really nice house, that means your value of your property increases. So it definitely has an effect. What that effect is as far as a dollar amount, I would not be able to be in a position to tell you that.
Okay, but we can use its goodness as compared to no, it's off the board. You can't use it because it's a police station.
Yeah.
And this is stuff we could talk about in our workshop. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. So
I could say we have an urban renewal plan. We have an urban renewal report, a budget. It's an adopted plan. It has priorities. It has the amounts allocated to those projects. A lot of the things you're talking about aren't on that plan, and they probably, as this develops over time, there's going to be things that get paid for through the private sector. There's going to be grants that come in. There's going to be a whole mix of things that just aren't super clear right now. But we're trying to be conservative on the front end here and not get out over our skis. So
Okay, have we kicked the can down the road enough?
Yeah, can I make a motion to approve 407,000? I want to say million, Doug.
So do I. I could put a B in there as well. Okay, so there's a motion on the table to approve expenditures for 21-22 in the amount of $407,000 and to establish the maximum expenditures as shown in the FY 2021-2022 proposed budget. Is there a
Second.
second to that motion? There's a second. We're going to hold off the vote. This is an opportunity for changes to the proposed budget to be introduced. If changes are suggested, you need a motion and a second, followed by a discussion and a vote to, I believe, change the motion only. It says chance the motion, but I believe that's change the motion. Is there any discussion on this? Any further discussion of what we already talked about? Any discussion on changing the original motion? Hearing that, I'll move on to item 3. It says, after all change motions have been considered, have the original motion amended to reflect the total of the revised expenditure summary, and then vote on the motion. Well, hearing none, we can now simply vote on the motion. It's been moved and seconded, and we've had a discussion. Is there any, I'm holding off any anything else? Is there any further discussion?
Just hope
Hearing
somebody
none.
doesn't, I just hope somebody doesn't come along with a pile of money and say, we want to invest in your urban renewal district. We're going to invest 100. You put 10.
I
Then
hope
you can
someone
have
comes,
another meeting.
I hope someone comes along with a pile of money.
I should note, Mayor, just like the city budget, you have the option to amend the budget as well. So if money does happen to fall out of the sky, or we figure out a way to print it legally, then we can most certainly amend the budget with a similar process like this, just like we do with the city budget every year.
All right.
Okay, I'm
Thank you,
calling
Mike.
for the vote, and we will vote on this, and you can, I want to hear all the yays by raising your hand and saying yes. Okay, are you
Yes.
ready?
Yes.
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 Do I hear any nays? Hearing none, the motion passed unanimously. And is there any other further discussion or anything that I have left out in this meeting? The next item is adjournment. So
You don't want to prolong the meeting then, Doug.
I declare the meeting adjourned, and thank you. And thank you
Peace.
for
Thank you.
Thank you for believing in me, and I will try to get that 4 million for you next year.
Good job, Doug.
Back.
Bill,
Okay,
look out
thank
behind
you.
you. Bill, look out behind you. She's going to get you.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.